Okay, guys, so I want to do a quick little video about the Leafs cap hell that is going to take place very, very soon. Now, Dubas came out and he said, we're going to be able to keep all these guys, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? I was looking at the numbers and going through the just into next season. That's it. Not even longer term. Longer term, it gets worse and easier at the same time. But even just going into next year, what are they going to do? What kind of team are they going to have? And I would argue that it's going to be a very different team. And even if he signs them at the discount, let's say a 10 or 15% discount, it's not going to matter. They're still going to have huge issues. And this is where Button, I'm not always a big fan of Button, but he is right in the sense that they've really kind of pigeonholed themselves with the Tavares thing. Now, depending on how you look at it, and we'll get into that. So, first of all, I wanted to check. Here's the pre-Nylander cap situation. So you look at that. These are the guys that are signed. The R's represent the restricteds and the U's represent the unrestricteds. And this is the situation you have right now. Without Nylander going into next season. I have a question mark for Nylander. So right there, you've got $44 million tied up into a bunch of dudes. So Nylander, let's say he took $7 million. Well, then that would translate right there into $51 million. Let's say the cap's at 80. You do the math. That's 29 left. So this is what it looks like today going into next season. Okay? So what I did was I said, okay, well, we've got the pre-Nylander. This is what the cap would look like with the perceived max deals. So what a lot of the experts think, and maybe even over and above that, but this is sort of like the max. Like if all of their star players that are due for contracts completely maxed out at what they could get, I believe, and I think most people would agree, this is what it would look like. So Austin Matthews at 13, Marner at 10. This is also assuming that these guys have big years. Like for Marner to get 10, he's going to have to probably score at least 80 points, probably 90, right? So as a winger. So this is assuming they all have really big years. Nylander, he's reportedly wants 8, so there you go. There's your $8 million. Gardner, as a 50-plus point guy on the open market, he probably gets $7 million per season, which is what I have him at. So, but when you add all this up, and again, assuming they're going to keep their unrestricted free agents, all their restricted free agents, essentially they're going to keep the team together at the maximum contract levels that any of them would get. And that includes the Hainsey at a $1.5 million deal, which I think is perfectly expected. So you look at that, that's a total now of just about $96 million. So on a perceived cap, my perceived cap is about $81.5 million next season. This is insane. So there's no possible way. You have no team. You give these guys their max deals, forget it. The Leafs are literally going to go from one of the best teams in the league this year to garbage. So what do we do with that? So then the question becomes, well, who goes? Who goes? So if we take an assumption that the big three, Nylander, Marner, and Matthews, are going to get their max deals, and then we remove the perceived UFAs or guys that you can probably just let go. So Tyler Ennis leaves. So Gardner leaves. Hainsey leaves. Marincin leaves. So you take out all those contracts. You're still left with $84.25 million, which means the cap would have to go up significantly. And that's getting rid of Gardner. I mean, this is where they're at. So who's going to go? So then the question becomes, if they can sign them at a discount, what does that look like? And then after that, who would you have to move out? So here's my cap at a discount, letting Ennis, Gardner, Hainsey, and Marincin walk. This is the discount and the walk. So you lose Gardner for nothing. Hainsey, Marincin are gone. Ennis is gone. And you've signed the big three at a discount. Okay, and then, of course, all the other players at very reasonable contracts. So let's take a look. Matthews matches Tavares' 11. Most people would say that's a discount, just like it was for Tavares. Fair enough. Marner signs for 8. Assuming he comes off of an 80, 90-point season this year, that's a pretty good deal. Nylander at 6, which is what the club is reportedly hoping to sign him for, around that number, which is consistent with some of the other wingers in his situation. Okay, so they sign these guys, all of them for reasonable contracts. Kapanen 2, Janssen 2, all very reasonable contracts. Still losing Gardner for nothing. Hainsey goes and Marincin goes, which I think is going to happen anyways, but losing Gardner for nothing. And they're still going to have a cap hit of $78.2 million. And they haven't even filled out the roster yet. So they've got huge issues. And the club needs to address this, because even if they get what they want from the 3 guys that they're trying to get signed, they're still going to be in big trouble, and their defense is going to be weak. They're going to have huge problems. Personally, here's what I would do. Zaitsev, Nylander, Gardner, all 3 are on the trading block right now as far as I'm concerned. You have no choice. I know they want to go on a run this year, but I still don't think they're good enough to win it anyways. That's my personal opinion. I don't think the D is good enough. Now, if you can package those 3 guys together for a really good defenseman, that's different. Now you're taking up cap space with a guy, but you're filling the void that you needed to fill. So I can live with that. But either way, they have to trade somebody. The other nuclear option, which they might have to, is Matthews. And people say, oh my God, you can't trade Matthews. Oh, no. Well, here's the deal. They might have to. They might have to, because you're going to end up with 2 really good centers, 1 really good winger, and very little else. And in my view, middle of the pack goaltender, and nothing else. That's what you have left. Defense will be horrible. They have to make these changes. They do not have a choice. We'll see what they do. I personally, if you did trade Matthews, you could fleece a team. I mean, you'd be set up for the next 5 years. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't really want to trade him. He's a phenomenal hockey player. But the problem is, how are you going to keep these guys now? And that's where Button is kind of correct. Signing Tavares, it makes this year amazing, and they're going to have an amazing team, regardless of what they sign Nylander for. But beyond this year, look at the numbers, folks. This is really bad.